So good evening and welcome to the Replenish Me show, where I have amazing guests on to help entrepreneurs to replenish themselves so that they can stay tuned into their purpose and mission and powerfully impact the world. I'm your hostess, Cordelia Gaffar, best-selling author, international speaker, and member of the Global Goodwill Ambassadors. In my latest release, America's Leading Ladies, I detail my body soul shift process. Currently, the ebook is available on Amazon. But I want to talk to you tonight about something that really is important in entrepreneurship and often comes up, which is self-confidence. And to do that, even though this show is really to inspire female entrepreneurs, it's always good to get a perspective from all people, right? So I have two wonderful gentlemen. I'll be speaking with Darren Horn right now. I met Darren Horn, I think about 3 years ago. Online. And he is an educator and consultant focusing on leadership and communications. He's an author of an award-winning book, a neuro-linguistic programming practitioner, and he's on the board of trustees for an alcohol and addiction charity and has been interviewed globally. His mission is to help 1 million people to be a little happier. And you can find him everywhere on social media as the Darren Horn. And his website, of course, is darrenhorn.com. So welcome to the show.
Thank you for that great intro.
Yeah, so I can't believe it's like already been 3 years, and you were one of my first guests when I started this podcast. So
yeah, it was after my daughter had been born, which is my kind of epiphany moment. And I'd gone through I think I still was going through a pretty rough time I had postnatal depression, and I think we spoke mainly about mental health. But yeah, 3 years ago, my daughter being born, huge change to my life.
Yeah. And look where you are now. So I'm pretty sure she's running your show now.
yeah, she's amazing. Yeah, she is. She's fantastic. She's 3.5. It's great. Yeah.
Great. So I want to just jump right in and, ask you some questions. Like, what is really your mission and vision? I mean, I read what you say in your bio, but like from your heart, tell me.
Yeah, a lot of this is just having a daughter. So when my daughter was first born, one of the reasons I had a mental health issue is I just fell out of my depth and I didn't have the confidence to deal with that. And as I learned how to deal with that, and once I learned how to, I lent into being a father, I, like every parent, holds their kids and thinks, wow, I didn't bring them into the world to be unhappy and work 40, 50 hours a week in a job they hate until they die. And there's such a perfect ball of kind of innocence and curiosity and hope, and they're wonderful. And which means we were all wonderful and fearless and didn't worry about how we looked and were just naturally curious about the world. And then we go to school, or we have some questionable parenting techniques, or we just get into life, and that's kind of killed our passion for living is killed, and we start to just be like fine, and just like our expectations get lowered, and we stop dreaming. And there's studies done with this with kids, and I think in primary school still, if you say, hey, what do you want to do? They're still dreaming, and they still want to tell you the answer. And then in secondary school, it gets a little bit muted, and then as adults, we don't want to do it at all. So it became, selfishly, I want to make a better world for my daughter. I just want the world to be a better place. But also that realization, it's going to sound a little bit woo-woo, but everyone's my daughter and son. Everyone's my brothers and sisters. We're all connected because we were all that innocent at one point. So if I can, and my influence is limited right now, but because of the butterfly effect and ripples, if I just let someone in traffic in front of me, if I let them in, their day is going to be a little bit nicer, which means they're going to be a little bit happier, which means they might let somebody into traffic, or somebody saw me let them in, and they do it. It's like kindness is really infectious and it can just spread out. And I think when we have so much, you can see so much negativity in social media and in the world. And I think there's that famous quote, isn't there? All there is for evil to grow is for good people to do nothing. I think we all have a responsibility as leaders, and we're all leaders, to just put a little bit of positivity and happiness and hope into the world, because it really, really needs it right now.
It really does. That's so beautiful. I don't think that sounds woo-woo at all, but it's true. I mean, like, that's why, you may have noticed, like, since you've been on the show, like back then you were like the guy that year. And now it's like I've had lots of men on, you know, because we are really just all like human beings, right? And we have to all do our part little by little, no matter how small it is. It could just be a smile sometimes, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And it does release drugs. I think it's oxytocin, like the love drug. You don't even have to be kind or someone be kind to you. Just witnessing kindness will pass that on. And and because we have social media, we can have dramatic impacts. So yeah, it's the smallest thing can mean the world to somebody else. But you don't do it because of the reaction. Right. Like I was chatting to someone recently, and they were saying how frustrated they get if they let somebody into traffic and they don't wave or nod, how frustrated they get. And it's like, yeah, because it's not a transaction. Kindness or love isn't a transaction. Like, you do it and then let it go.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the beautiful thing. And I guess if we want to be woo-woo, then we would say it's the vibration, right, of love and peace that people are really picking up on. So I think this is a great segue into how would you have rated your self-confidence? You were taking us through what happens like from primary school to adulthood. So where were you when you started?
I think the only good thing about me wasting about 2 decades of my life is that it wasn't 21 years. So 2 decades, like since school up until, you know, my daughter being born, I was just killing time, just treading water. And I didn't realize it at the time because I was making decisions, but I wasn't realizing how motivated they were by fear and or ignorance or fear of the unknown or whatever it was. So my confidence wasn't that high. It got higher with my first kind of entrepreneurial journey, which was when I took over a martial arts studio. And although I classed myself as a business person rather than an entrepreneur. And martial arts was so embedded in the martial arts I did was so embedded in a lot of the psychology and the philosophy. So that would get me into reading about, you know, Stoic philosophy. It was a lot of like the art of war and like the book of the samurai and that kind of stuff. But it got me thinking about how the mind works and also the psychology of why men in particular want to learn how to fight. And what does that mean? And why do they then want to get into a ring and beat another person, which my school, you know, didn't do. I don't really see the value in that. So it was pretty low. It got stronger whilst I was running a martial arts studio. But even then, it still felt like it was in, I was going to say a box, but it almost like a man box as well, like the box of masculinity. Like, you know, I can handle myself, so I'm confident, which is not confidence. That's something entirely different. That's, I don't know, bravado or a manual trade or something. That's not confidence. It wasn't until my daughter was born and I was put into a position of absolute vulnerability. Like, she slayed me. She slayed me in terms of overwhelming me, but she slays me on a daily basis with the vulnerability I feel of if anything happens to her, even just visualizing that, it's too much. And then the process of sharing all of my vulnerabilities and realizing that that's not the end of the world. And now I embrace it. I don't know any other way to be. So before entrepreneurship, I wouldn't even say I had confidence. It was fake confidence, and it was based on a very distinct pattern or habit of life where I was okay. Like, literally down to the point, I shop in this shop. I don't shop in that shop. Wow. And a good example is where I've moved to is a bit more diverse. So there's like Middle Eastern shops and there's some Polish shops. There's Turkish barbers. I would never have gone in there before because I'd never been in there before, and it would be a bit intimidating. You know, there's people speaking other languages around me. What if they're talking about me? What if they're saying, what's he doing in here? Is this just for Polish people? Like, you get anxiety. Yeah. That's all gone.
I like the point that you brought up, though, the man box, right? Because that really is not real, right?
No.
we're learning more and more that this is some fake, like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
And it's men, a lot of people talk about this, but men really don't like being laughed at. I remember, I'm divorced now, but I have a very good relationship with my ex. And when one of the things that was putting me off getting married was the fear of the first dance, because I don't know how to dance, and I was worried about people laughing at me or messing it up. Like, exactly. So that's a lack of confidence.
Yeah.
That's not even believing that the people who love me the most in the world, who are at my wedding, would be supportive. Of course they would be. But yeah, I think of it like anger. Anger gives you such a false sense of confidence, and it can make you feel really powerful, but it burns out real fast and it clouds your judgment. And I think violence does the same. Violence, the adrenaline rush of that can again cloud your judgment, and you can create poor decisions or make poor decisions. Whereas the aim in martial arts, if we stick with that, is for me, it's where I first started learning about emotional intelligence. It's for me to monitor my emotions, and therefore I would realize there's a gap between like a stimulus and my response. So if someone hits me in the face, I get to decide how I choose to respond. And that's all within my power. I also get to decide how much meaning that punch has. Whether it's, and I'm a very, like, my core program is like friend guy, because I've worked in a lot of customer facing environments. So if someone hit me, I'd be like, hey man, like, are you okay? Like, are you all right? Like, why have you done that? Like, I'd want to just find out why they did it. Whereas others would immediately be fighting back. I wouldn't. And yeah, I mean, there's I don't want to go too much into that, but there's scenarios. If they're in my house and my daughter's there, yeah, the conversation is going to be a lot quicker. But yes, I went off on a tangent.
I like that though. You know, it was a related tantrum. But so you brought up something interesting about anger and violence, you know, because I was going to ask you, why do men fight and why are they drawn to that? Is that to do with the man box again?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's this, we're socialized from a young age. We've had this a lot, of, you know, boys don't cry. We don't communicate. We don't talk about feelings with each other that much. It's getting better now, but I say that from the keyhole that I look through the universe at. In my world, men do talk about it quite a lot, but I know that my world's quite specific. And then we brought up on media, and still it's getting much better, but still the dominant representation in Western media is white men as the heroes. Virtually, I would think 99% of the most popular movies have a white male as the lead, and he solves his problems with violence. That's it. Like, I've never seen James Bond kind of sit down and be like, okay, let's chat about this.
Let's meditate first. Let's do yoga.
Right? It's like, and it frustrates me because I love the art of communication so much. And you can study negotiation and you can see things from other people's perspectives. And we don't see that in the media. You know, Game of Thrones didn't have that much of it in. Violence is dramatic, conflict is dramatic, and we like drama. It's also why people, to a certain extent, dramatize their own lives and try and turn their lives into a fairy tale. But the problem is that fairy tales need a villain. And so we villainize other people.
So, like, on the note of fairy tales, right? Because in social media, when we see entrepreneurs, they have that lifestyle, right? The laptop lifestyle. So I haven't seen any pictures of you on the beach, but it appears all the same that your entrepreneur journey has enhanced your self-confidence. How is that possible?
Yeah, that's really interesting, because I think true entrepreneurship drags you out into the sunlight. I don't know why I'm thinking vampires there, but that's kind of, I was like being dragged out to the cave and being visible. And if you've done anything around like branding, that's all. I think Gary Vee says this, it's authenticity and being nice is going to rise to the top. So you have to, the entrepreneurship is so hard that if you're not doing something you believe in, you're going to basically fail. So you've got to really be in tune of what you believe in, who you are, and what you want to achieve. And none of that should be external. And none of that should, those external things shouldn't give you any validation, like being on a beach or having a car. Like, all that can be taken away, which means you're going to be in for a bumpy ride. And we see this with some entrepreneurs. They'll bounce from idea to idea, and they kind of lots of ups and downs. So the reason that my confidence increased is because of all the internal work that I had to do in order to keep going as an entrepreneur. And like in martial arts, there's a percentage of entrepreneurs who all read the same books. So if you go onto a group of entrepreneurs and say, hey, what books do you recommend? A lot of the ones that will be recommended are ones about mindset, basically. And it's all the ways to keep going. It's like the Fourth Agreement, or Man's Search for Meaning. Anything like the Chimp Paradox is another one I see a lot. It's like, how does your brain work, and how can you, to a certain extent, get control of your productivity, yourself, your creativity. So going into that world where it's also, there's a lovely merge in entrepreneurship where you'll be in groups with, like, I don't know, tarot readers and people who sell crystals, or people who do Reiki. It's like somehow we all end up at the same events almost.
Yeah, I was just about to say that, because the other books that you'll see are like Joe Dispenza and Bruce Lipton, so spectrum.
So it becomes the norm, because we know that to be happy, it's like gratitude exercises and savoring the moment and savoring the wins, or even the losses. It's journaling. Like any biography you read, the successful people have usually done that. And so for me, embracing that side of it and realizing that it's my thoughts that create my reality has absolutely increased my confidence. Me being very aware of my origin story, who I am, what I stand for, and putting myself into on platforms where I know some people are not going to like me at all. And you have to become okay with that. And we talk about our ideal clients. It's like, yeah, you have your ideal clients, which are the ones you really vibe with, but there's also the ones who are just not for you. And we all know that this also even comes from media, isn't it? It's like in media, there's a thing called reception theory, where you have dominant, oppositional, and negotiated readings. And entrepreneurs are the same. So the dominant reading is the one that the producer wants you to have. I'm thinking of like Spider-Man or whatever, with like the American flag and fighting for hero or whatever. But that imagery will play completely different to a country, in the Middle East or something. Right. They're going to see that imagery as meaning something else. Yes. And then there's others who negotiate. So I think the example I sometimes use is around like meat eaters. What does an advert for Burger King mean? What it's trying to do is be like, hey, come and eat this burger. But there's an oppositional reading of, that's murder.
Right. I'm vegan. Why would you do that? Yeah.
And we're the same. Like, some people are going to be like, yeah, I get Darren. I like him. He talks about movies and games and he's vulnerable and whatever. And other people, as I found through people trolling me, think I'm a weak man and a pathetic excuse for an individual.
Wow. I've never seen those comments about you, but I guess that's what you see what you want to see.
Yeah, no, and that was on one of those like anonymous surveys I did, which is such a dangerous thing to do. So, hey guys, fill in this anonymous survey about me. And one guy let me rip.
I don't offer those.
It was probably my dad.
I don't want to hear what people would say. So, it looks like we may have Modou here soon. That'll be nice. But I like what you're saying. So if you were to just pull out your top 3 things that have helped your inner work most, what would those 3 be?
Okay, so I got through a lot of this through neurolinguistic programming. Wow. And so the top one would be, and you can learn these anywhere, neurolinguistic programming, you can learn it from your children. Top one is curiosity. And so they're all mixed. It's curiosity and it's managing your ego. They're definitely the top 2. So curiosity is, you've got a very specific view of the world. Anything else could be true. And I love that. It gives me a wonder. And that helps me to be happy, and it helps me to be confident. Because I think Socrates said something like, I'm wise because I know nothing. And that's kind of where I am. Managing your ego and deciding and realizing not everything has to be true all the time. So, for example, the universe, according to common science, is infinite and gigantic. And I was looking at a photo the other day by the Hubble telescope that was 30 light years wide and 20 light years high. And I can't comprehend the size of that. And I'm in that, which means none of this is personal. Like, nothing is out there to sabotage me or harm me in any way. Nothing is personal. At the same time, sometimes I need to be bigger than that. So then I'm like, well, the universe is massive, but I'm part of it. That's like for me to say I'm not part of it. It's like my little finger saying, oh, I'm powerless and I've got no power and I've got no confidence. It's like, dude, you're part of this. Yeah. We're amazing and we can do great things. And we are part of the universe. And as we were saying, like, I get it's not woo-woo, it's science, but this is not solid. This is made up of atoms. It's like, if you zoom in enough, you can go through my hand. And that pattern is replicated in solar systems. It's like, you're part of that. How can you not have confidence when there's like a 400 to trillion one chance that you even came into existence and you're part of this amazing universe? So curiosity, managing your ego, and realizing that not everything has to be true all the time. So it can bounce between the universe is infinite and you're minuscule to the universe is infinite and you are part of it. Life is amazing.
I love that. Great answer. Well, I want to welcome Modou. Hello, how are you?
How are you, Cordelia? Thanks for having me. Can you hear me loud and clear?
I can hear you very well, yes.
Okay, thanks. And good to also share the platform with Darren. It's truly inspirational. I was definitely looking forward to it. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to ask you, Darren, if you can mute yourself when I'm talking to Modou so that we don't have the overlap of sound. So I am going to introduce you now. I've already introduced Darren, and we've just gone over the first two questions, really. So at the perfect time. So I'm so excited that you're here. For those of you listening, Modou Njie, is that the correct pronunciation?
Modou Njie, yes. Yeah, correct. Yes.
He's the founder of Startup Grind, and he's nominated for the Africa Business Award in 2019. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
You know, you just actually, I'm looking at this, and this doesn't even have everything you do. You know that, right? Because like when I met you a year ago, what had you had just been invited to speak in, that's not even on here. You had been invited to speak somewhere, I think, in Asia. But anyway, I'm gonna. So you've worked on building entrepreneurial ecosystems in Cameroon. You're the chapter director of Startup Grind in Banjul, which also earned you a nomination for Best Social Enterprise in Cameroon. And you co-founded like For Africa, which is an international procurement firm sourcing good for startups. And you write for all these magazines worldwide. So you really didn't put everything that you do on here. I can see that. But I think in a snapshot for someone who is decades younger than me and Darren, you've really just hit the ground running. It's just like, and I know like from your personal story, if you want to share just a teeny bit about that, you're the oldest of, is it 11 siblings?
No, I'm actually the last born. The last born of my family. But the one that actually had to face almost most of the struggles, especially when I had to be brought up by a single parent. So it took a lot of determination. It took a lot of drive to be able to understand that the journey to where I wanted to be had to have a sort of a direction. And my environment actually helped me to shape that vision. Obviously in an economic zone that I am coming from, such as West Africa, we are seeing in terms of our capacity to do things, on a global scale, really limited. So I had to go um, beyond this scale to where exactly we are seen as Africans to be able to uplift my people. So there are times where that's why I really enjoyed the topic in terms of self-confidence, because it had to take me to go through a lot of struggles. 8 months ago, I would tell you that no, um, it would never be possible for me. Um, but again, understanding my society and where I'm coming from, and seeing the struggle and seeing everything that surrounds me, I had to tell myself that, hey, I can do this. So I watch the world from afar. I read a lot of books. I see great people doing great things. And I said to myself, I can do this for Gambia. So, and this is a motivation because when I started my ice cream business 3 years ago in my community, I used to have access to most of the young people that were going to school, and because they love ice cream. So I said to myself, I can connect the ice cream to be able to know what the young people actually need. Because when they come to the ice cream shop, I'll tell them, buy ice cream, and then if you pass your exams, I'll give you a free tennis ball, for example. So it gave me an opportunity to be able to leverage on the expectations of young people. And I saw a lot of passion. But then these young people don't really have that platform to where they can upscale. And
Yeah.
this is my motivation. This is my motivation to what I do right now. It all is a vision coming from the society that I'm coming from, and what exactly the people want to do, but they don't have the means to do it. So I see that. So I see that projection to where I can do it as a person, and I leverage on it, and here I am.
Yeah, I love that. And I know you said something super important, but the audio wasn't complying. But there's just a
Yeah.
very small piece that I missed. But I know I love that you said it's actually your environment, right? You
Mhm.
there could be an
Mhm.
argument made for, because of where you're coming from, that your self-confidence
Mhm.
wouldn't recover, but you actually use,
Yeah.
because of where you're coming from, to, nope, I've got to make this happen, and I have to start with the youth. So
Yeah.
I love that. That's super important.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. When you look at it as well, I would just quote this from, Jay-Z, one of his songs, if you can meet it, you can meet anywhere. So at the end of the day, what's more important for a lot of young people to understand in this economic trend that we have in this world, it's not easy anywhere. It's not easy anywhere. Whether you're in Gambia, or whether you're in the US, or whether you are in different parts of Europe, it's not easy. I think it's more of about the individual recognizing what exactly, I mean, how do you call it? The limitless vision that an individual can use to pursue something. I mean, everybody has different sets of skills. What I realize that it takes a lot of time to be able to understand what your niche is. Sometimes it can take you a decade. I mean, you can be doing something, and then it takes a little bit of spark to be able to understand, oh, this is exactly where I'm good at. So when you look at me like a year ago, 2 years ago, I was doing something different than startup guy. So it took me a lot of research. It took me a lot of trying to find my purpose in life. And then in that process, in that journey, that was when I started to unlock who I was as a person, and what exactly in my innate abilities as a person, what I could use to be able to change the society. So it was a process that I followed. It was a process that I took in order to be who I am today.
Yeah,
And it took a lot of, there are times where it was very low for me, there are times where it was very high. But the interesting part is, how was I able to do this from being very low to being a very, to taking a very high? Yeah.
I love that you came in just now, because I had just asked Darren that question, and he was saying something similar. I mean, you
Yeah.
can go ahead and chime in. I saw you nodding your head.
Yeah,
Mm.
particularly how long it can take Well, they certainly helping the youth first. Like my day job is I teach students, and I thought I was going to be like a teenage life coach to start with. But working out what your niche is, right? We've got, I think of this, like you're born and then it feels like you're here, and then the world and your parents' opinion and your friends' opinion, it's like they stick all these stickers all over you. And then for you to find out what the thing you love is a process of peeling all of this off and being like, well, where am I? What is it I love? Where's the thing that I love overlapping with my skill base? And where does that overlap with monetizing? Because I need to make money out of this. I need to survive or whatever. So you've got, yeah, I absolutely get it that it's a decade. I'm not entirely sure I've niched down perfectly yet either, but I'm definitely on that path. So totally agree.
Yeah, that's really great. So tell me, what are the top 3 things? You were saying that you've had a bumpy ride, right? So what are the top 3 things that really helped you to enhance your self-confidence while you're trying to figure out your niche and all these things?
Interesting question. It's you know, I would just evaluate myself at the time, and then things were not happening for me. I used to try. I did a lot of volunteering work, trying to see where exactly do I fit in, and even on my financial part, at some point it was just like not happening. Yeah, but then again, I never stopped. I never stopped. I started the ice cream business. It was really doing very well, and at some point the profits went down. And my mom was like, "You need to close the business," and I was like, "No, I'm not going to close this." So, and then because the business that I had was actually located at the heart of where my family has access to it, so it was more of them having an interest to be able to understand where the trend in terms of sales is. So it was a bit complicated. So then I said to myself, I'm not going to close this business because where I am today might change maybe if I re-strategize my ideas. So I had to do, I mean, I did a lot of research. I had to be connected to the world outside. I had to do a lot of courses, Venture for Africa courses, a few other things that exposed me to a lot of confidence. Listen to TD inspirational speakers, people like yourself, of course, to be able to understand that, hey, you know, there's something out there that you can do different. But I understand even in terms of business, especially in our zone here in Gambia, you find out that most youths in that 2-year trend, most of their businesses phase out. But then this is where I'm really focused on as a social enterprise ecosystem nurturer. Now, how can we manage these businesses to be able to move beyond that trend of 2 years? And that's a very, very critical component in the business, because most businesses don't make it, within that 2 years period. So now I have a job as an ecosystem nurturer. And I said to myself, this platform that I'm going to bring is going to be that solution to help these businesses to be able to move from that level. But then you need a lot of elements to do that. But as I said, one of the most critical components, I would say, is self-discipline. Self-discipline is very, very, very important. And the third one that really helped me was having good mentors. I surrounded myself with a lot of amazing people across the world. People like Alice Mope, Modou Njie. These were people that really just tell me when things were tough. You're great. You're doing that. You're doing that. So I needed those kind of words to be able to lift myself up. And then do a lot of research. So that kept me going.
So it seems like the research you did was like not just books, but you actually, like you said, you volunteered in different types of businesses, right? Yeah. To better understand, and that opened doors for you to do ecosystems. Okay, very nice. So you can unmute yourself if you want to chime in. I just want the sound to be clear. That's the thing, you know? So, yeah. So what's really, so the source of your inspiration, you mentioned some of your mentors, and I think we connected on LinkedIn, right?
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
So who would you say, like, of the people you follow on LinkedIn, like, who's one of the number one?
Well, there are just so many. There are just so many of them. But I would say, you know, one of the very inspirational people or personalities that actually um, were very instrumental in my career is Modou Njie. She's actually a global scholar based in the US. I fully remember at some point in my career that trend where I wanted to find myself in a zone that where I wanted to be. She was the one that was like redirecting me. But then again, I also used to be inspired by a lot of people. I can name like a lot of people in the diaspora that were doing amazing stuff, similar to programs that you do as well. I've been truly inspired. I think it's a great stuff that you're doing out there because a lot of people need their soul to be replenished in different ways. How do they connect their body, their mind, you know, into a lot of the things that is happening? How do they get their soul to feel replenished? This is very important because a lot of people are mentally drained down, you know, and they need that spark to lift them up. So spiritually, you know, how do they connect to programs like this inspiration? Yeah.
Thank you for that. And for you, Darren, who would you say is like someone who is your number one inspiration?
I think one of the people who started this for me was a guy called Kevin Cruz, and he's like a New York Times bestselling author. He's a leadership and productivity specialist, I suppose. And he'd written, I just started using Snapchat as a way, because I'm a media lecturer as well as my day job, and I was using that to kind of coach teenagers, and they were on Snapchat. And he wrote an article for Forbes called like 17 people you should follow. And like a lot of the big names were there, like, you know, and Gary Vaynerchuk and Ty Lopez and, you know, whatever. But it's basically like grown-ups on Snapchat. It's not all 12-year-olds, which is good for me to find out. And then he on Snapchat was just saying, everyone has a story, everyone has a specialism, everyone has knowledge. You can all write a book. And he was like, especially if you're a teacher. And I was like, oh, I'm a teacher. So he's a person who kind of got me to write a book, and he also kind of gave me my first online. He was the person who first published my articles as well. He has a site called like the Lead X Academy. But the reason I like him is he's then introduced me to everyone else because he had a podcast and interviewed like over 300 people. And through him, I discovered a guy called Dov Baron, who's a leadership guy who has a leadership style called Full Monty Leadership, which is all about being vulnerable. And he's on social media all the time, being vulnerable and changing the definition of masculinity. And there's another lady called Cy Wakeman, who, again, leadership, and she's all about reality-based leadership. Like, what is the reality? Like, your thoughts are probably lying to you, or your mind reading what someone's motivation is or their intention is. And so those people are the ones I focus on mainly. And I know I'm saying they're leadership specialists, but if you communicate in any way, as we all do, even through your silence or your inaction, you have influence. So by being silent, you're having influence. And if you have influence, you are, like, by default, a leader. So we're all leaders, and those three and many, many others remind me on a daily basis that everything I do has repercussions. It's one of the silly reasons, because I have a 3-year-old, that when I go to traffic lights and you know, press the button, I always wait for the light to go green for the man to appear. Because even if I'm alone and even if there's no traffic, because if there's some kid in the car that goes by or looking out his bedroom window and he sees me cross the road and the light wasn't green, he's like, well, my parents are lying to me. You can cross. Like, everything has an impact. It's not creepy, but we're being watched all the time. Someone's watching us and being influenced by us. So yeah, they're the three that really get me to embrace my natural leadership and encourage me to help others embrace their natural leadership.
I like that both are bringing in that you're connecting with your mind, your body, and your spirit, and that leads you back to your own leadership. For me, I call that wisdom. You know, it's we're leaders within. We have wisdom within. So you know, for me, listening to both of you, I'm hearing this theme in self-confidence. It just comes from listening deep within.
Yeah, I think it's pretty common for many people to do like either meditation or mindfulness, and people overthink that. Human beings overthink everything, but mindfulness and meditation is really just sitting with your thoughts, and just, you don't have to get a cushion, you don't have to light a candle, but you just sit with your thoughts and it's like, well, what am I thinking? Why am I thinking that? What happens if that trail of thought goes that way? There's an awful lot of people who can't be alone with themselves without a distraction, without music or the TV on in the background. Just sit and work out what's happening.
That's so important. So, do you meditate also?
Yes, I do that a lot. Meditation, it's amazing. It's an amazing feeling to actually have it all the time. It helps you to be able to evaluate yourself, and to be able to have deep thoughts about life and where you are as a person, and what needs to be done, and it's like a checklist for the mind. So it's really inspirational to have meditation. Yeah.
I like that. It's a checklist for the mind.
As you get better, at it, I do see it like compound interest, or going to the gym. Like you won't see the results immediately, but you just chip away at it, and then suddenly life transforming ability, really, particularly with your thoughts, because then you catch yourself, and you'll have a thought that you think is a reality, but if you meditate enough, you'll catch it. You're like, whoa, why am I internally speaking like I've already been rejected from that opportunity? Like they haven't answered yet. we make up a story, and I think meditation can help you catch yourself telling you stories that are based on fiction.
Yeah.
I know for myself, I also, and I think we were talking a little bit off air about this, that visualization is also really key. And just, I know whenever I have like a new program or something new I'm doing, I visualize all the schools that need what I'm offering. And, it's just like whatever number I come to, I'm like, I'm feeling like it's going to be 5 women. And then like it's 5 women, it's, and sometimes I'll feel like nobody's going to show up, and nobody shows up. So it's...
I'm going to add to that. One thing I realized in my journey as an entrepreneur is that whatever your thoughts are, it's mostly what happens. And this is really powerful. That's why positivity in the mind is really important as an individual. Sometimes when I'm having programs, I envision the program to what I want it to be. And that's how I set up the mode for the team when we have a task to do in the program. So the mind is a very powerful tool. And if you really give it that positive vibe, and then it brings out that positive soul out. Everything works out. Because then you start to question yourself, oh, I was just thinking of that, and now it happens. So whatever you feed your mind into, is most cases is what happens. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
So can you tell me specifically who you serve and how they can work with you? I know that right now well, I don't know, you tell me, Modou, because I saw you posted something yesterday about you were working with some teachers. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yes. In terms of what I do, mainly, I normally try to see how we can have technology as a fusion to most of the businesses that we have in Gambia. And the category of the people that I work with, obviously, obviously I'm a young person, and I have a lot of interest in the development of young people in my country. And I want to see Gambia, in a different zone in terms of our economic independence for everybody. So most of the time, I look out for startups And this also inside of it, you have a lot of women entrepreneurs, and they have the power to do amazing stuff. But then the platforms need to be created. So what I did was, whenever I'm having a program, I normally look at an area in the society that at that particular time it's needed to solve a problem. I always tell businesses in Gambia, I always tell entrepreneurs when I meet them, if your startup is not solving a problem, then you might just forget about it. It needs to solve a problem in the community because people want your product to solve an issue. If your product is not solving an issue, then why do you have to be a startup? So what I do is, I look at leaders that are great in those areas. Then I bring them on these platforms and select a team that they're willing to talk about that is going to quickly enhance the behavioral change that we need in the ecosystem. So I work with women. I work with tech entrepreneurs. I also work with venture capitalists. Currently, I'm also trying to see, because most of the startups in my community, they normally complain about lack of investment funds. This is a very important area. What I'm trying to look at is how can we create a catalyst of investment fund that is going to help, women founders and also young founders that are starting businesses, and they can tap into this investment fund. So it's really important in an ecosystem that we are in that we cannot only be dependent to foreign aid, but we also need to be independent by ourselves in what we can do, and how do we see the society that we operate in as businesses, and what opportunities can we do in order to be self-independent. Because I'm not a very big fan of dependency. I believe that Africa has a lot of potential, and as a country where I'm coming from, Gambia, I can tell you, hey man, we really working on the trajectory to take this country to another level, and I want to be part of that. And this is the vision that I have right now.
Wow, you touched on a lot of things there. But do you find it harder, since you mainly focus with female entrepreneurs, do you find it harder for them to get funded than for the male entrepreneurs you work with?
Okay. Money is not always money is important in a business, but we also need to understand in a different line that when you are a startup entrepreneur, you don't always focus on the money part. So when I bring this platform, what I try to do is I educate, connect, and inspire, because you cannot have a developed ecosystem that's independent without educating them on the opportunities that are out there, on how they can use social media to market themselves, how can they leverage on the impact of technology to move their businesses. Because you can literally sit here in Gambia and make a business in the US. You understand? So, but you can't tell somebody, you can't give him or her a fund and tell him or her that you got this now, it's for a business, without educating him or her on how can they use that. So it takes a process. It takes a lot of learning. So right now, what we are focused in the ecosystem is how can we educate them? How can we get them to be inspired by successful founders, so that when they start their businesses, they're going to follow this journey. Even if they don't copy everything, but they're going to have a lot of innovative prospects into their businesses, and probably nurture it more by themselves without external assistance.
Yeah, I like that. Speak to that a little bit, Darren, because I know that's like your lane, social media and branding.
Yeah, it's weird because I don't think of myself as a branding specialist, because I have those in my life, but communication is branding, and leadership is branding. It's all combined. So I kind of got two strands. One is I'll go into companies and I'll do communications training, and that can just be to help. It can help sales, or it can help team building, or these days it can just help men and women communicate with each other out events, or it can also help with mental health issues, just good communications and leadership. The other side of it, which is more, I think, linked to social media as well, is the more coaching side of it. And the biggest issues I come up against with people are generally imposter syndrome and worrying about what ego is, or being, it's like a balance. Like, I'm not good enough, but my ego, but if I think I'm good enough, that's ego. So it's like a seesaw where they can't win. And social media is the same. And, there's companies I use around me just as a customer. And I'll be like, look, this is great. You need to go live on social media more. And oh no, no, yeah, because you're lovely and you're passionate and your business is doing something amazing that I believe in as well. Please tell people. And so social media for me, the challenge is getting people to be vulnerable on it and be them on it. And in terms of the branding, you do need to know, how much you're going to share, what you're going to be vulnerable over. But it can even come down to if you've got a company, it's not so much brand colors and logos, but those logos and colors having meaning to you. And a lot of otherwise it becomes more like a marketing thing. But for me, branding is what is your mission statement? Like, what is your vision, and why should I believe in you? And a lot of companies, even down to, I saw a case study recently, it was like a health and safety person, and their website was just like, this is what we do. Like, come on, like tell me a story about something. Like, oh, when I was a kid, my dad got hurt at work, and I remember he was off work for 2 years. It was a really painful time for our family, and I just think we all have a right to be able to work safely and not get hurt. It's like, yeah, now I'm leaning into the story.
Yeah.
And that's where my kind of media and film training comes from, because again, it's storytelling, which is communication, and storytelling is the most effective form of communication. It's so tough with Modou talking about niche, because I really feel like communication is such a big umbrella and covers branding and social media and so many other things that I can end up going off on tangents. But yeah, my main thing is to just help people move forward and not be scared. To not be scared of social media, to not be scared of embracing their own self as the identity of their business, to not worry about leaving their job or trying to start a new project or whatever it is. I just want people to be happy, and through training or coaching, the aim is to let them out of the prison that they've created in their heads. And I think a lot of us, even if you're not like a coach, even if you're just in the entrepreneurial space, you'll see people talk and be like, nope, that's not true. It's like, nope.
Yeah, I'm reading your sign. I help you communicate more effectively. And what I'm hearing from both of you is the only way to really do that is to just, to open yourself up to telling your story. Now, I get this a lot too, because, I'm a transformational business consultant. I thought that was so interesting how our titles ended up being the same these days. But, people tell me, well, I'm not ready to talk about what I'm going through right now. And I'm like, well, there are two ways around that. Like, number one, right, you can talk about something that you have gotten through. And I'm pretty sure, like, trust me, every 3 weeks we have an opportunity to share something that we've just up-leveled on. And so there's that. And then if you're going through something and it was like 3 days back and you just figured it out, the other way to do that is just like, have you ever had a time when, you just felt down in the dumps and like you were just going to give up? And then, you said, no, I believe in this because, and your why just emerged from your soul. And then you were like right back on board again. You don't have to tell them what happened that day. You don't even have to tell them it happened the other day. It's just like, yeah.
And if it's a lot, and you shouldn't be ashamed of anything, right? I think that's another one.
And there's that.
Someone across like Brené Brown or like that. And like, so I'll talk about mental health. And a friend of mine said, oh, I wouldn't hire you because, on your website, you talk about your mental health struggles. I mean, they're going to find out anyway. It's like, they Google my name or they'll hear it through gossip. Like, if I try to hide it, it becomes a thing. Like, there's nothing to be ashamed of. So I'm just like, this is me. And people might even try and hide, the way they look. Particularly with social media, I think that if you've got a business page, your photo should be somewhere, either in the profile picture or on the banner. They're going to find out what you look like at some point, and I want to hire a person. I want to hire a human being. I want to hire somebody who has flaws. It's why the Marvel films are doing so great right now, because Thor puts on a ton of weight and has a panic attack. It's like, we love people who are flawed. We don't like Superman. He's a bit too perfect. No, it's okay be vulnerable. It's okay to be flawed. People don't expect you to be perfect, and they would be deeply suspicious if you look to be perfect.
Weigh in on that for us. I'm sorry, Modou. I was trying to do the mute, and I took off your video. I apologize.
No, it's okay. Yeah. Yes, I was just gonna say in terms of getting people. Darren mentioned something right there that was really important. You don't have to have the perfect person, even in terms of business, to be able to do something for you. What you normally find, even as a recruiter or as a manager, trying to find people to work in your organization. I mean, get somebody that has that seems to have a lot of things in his background, because that motivates them to do more. And when you have somebody that's already completed, they simply don't care. But when you bring somebody that really has a story behind everything that he's bringing in the organization, then you see that, hey, he or she wants to achieve something. So mainly that's what I focus. I mean, whenever I meet entrepreneurs, and then most of them have a lot of story behind their journey, and I feel like, oh my God, and then I feel inspired to actually help them, because then they're motivated, because they know exactly what they've been through. So when you bring them on board in your organization, they probably perform more than you expect, because they're motivated by a lot of the things that they went through. I think this is really important for us as business leaders to also give the vulnerable people as well the opportunity to work for us, and get inspired along the way. Yeah.
I love that. So, like, for the closing thoughts, what is the number one thing you would share, Modou, for entrepreneurs to keep going when they feel their self-confidence going away, or just,
Yeah. Hello. Yes. I'm just gonna say, never, 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 never quit. If you believe in something and you really think that's something that you want to do, you gotta give it your best shot. There are so many times in my life where I've failed. I felt like it's never gonna happen, but I woke up and I told myself that I'm gonna do this, and at some point, I just kept on reading. Everything that I do, it was just happening. But you don't have to quit. So you need to develop that sense of mentality whereby even if failure is there, you see it as, right now, failure is normal to me, because even when I fail, I feel like I have something to learn. I have something to prove. So it's entrepreneurs need to understand that it's part of the process. This is one of the elements where, the real ones and the people that really want their project to go, because failure is a process, and it is part of the element of a business. And whenever I have a chance to mentor entrepreneurs, I always tell them, look out for those failures, and those things are going to make you stronger. So build on that and see where exactly, because failures teach you a path. When they come, they unlock something that if you're really smart, you see that this is exactly where I could do it better. But if it doesn't come, you don't see that that hole that you could close. So failures allows you to learn from that process. So these are very important thing that I would think, and most entrepreneurs need to embrace. Failure is part of the process, and do not quit. Never keep on quitting, and always replenish yourself with inspirational people. Always get mentors that could really, because they're inspirational. Sometimes I don't want to speak to anybody, but I want to speak to my mentors, because they have a certain word that I needed to hear at the time. So always identify mentors and get closer to them. Ask questions, do some research, and then stay on top of your game and keep grinding. Yeah.
I love that. Failure is your best teacher, and never give up, and keep your mentors close. I love that. All right, and Darren, what would you say in closing thoughts?
I think stepping out of your comfort zone is such a key part of human existence. It's actually what keeps us healthy. It keeps us growing. And for me, this is the hero's story from like movies and tales, where we all start in the ordinary world, which is where we were when we weren't entrepreneurs. We were in the ordinary world. Sometimes they call it the matrix. We're working 40, 50 hours a week. We're getting our pay, maybe having a pension. We're doing as we're told. We have to ask permission, like, please, can I have this day off to go to a wedding or whatever? But we're trapped in a very comfortable system. And once you step out of that, once you answer the call to adventure, just as they do in movies, the Hobbit leaving the Shire, Harry Potter leaving the cupboard under the stairs, Katniss leaving District 12, Luke Skywalker leaving Tatooine, like in all movies, the hero leaves the ordinary world because they come across a mentor. So look out who your mentors are. They have allies that they will pull around them. They will also let go. Like, not everyone comes on the adventure with them. Some people want to stay in the ordinary world. They're fine. You have to let some people go. And then you realize that your journey is a series of threshold guardians, whatever they are, like minor battles. In films, it could be like a wolf, which is why that's my logo. Like, it's a fairly common obstacle to overcome in fantasy films. In reality, it could be a tax form or a call center being on hold. Like, that's your quest. And you're working towards the cave to kill the dragon to get your big win. So in order to keep going with all these little setbacks, the little setbacks are threshold guardians. They're little obstacles to get you to go back to the ordinary world. If you're hitting adversity, it means you're on this quest. So my big kind of summary of that to keep you going is you've stepped out onto the journey. And you've watched movies, we've all watched movies, and a 90-minute movie, for 80 minutes of it, the hero gets beaten up. It's a tough for 80 minutes. You only reach the end. And that's where you're heading towards. Keep going.
Yeah, keep on that journey. I love it. So where can people find you, Modou, to connect with you?
Yeah, they can always find me on Twitter. On Twitter, I'm on Modou Njie 27, and on Facebook, they can just search my name, Modou Njie. I'm also on LinkedIn as well. So once they type my name, it's gonna pop up. So, yeah.
Yeah, and he's connected with some amazing people. Actually, we found out that I spoke at an event with one of your mentors.
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, she's an inspirational personality. She's doing amazing stuff in Banjul. Kumba is just amazing, and she's doing amazing stuff. And women like that are what we need in our society, to be able to give a little bit of inspiration for the young people like myself and other entrepreneurs to believe that they can do it. So, truly inspired.
Thank you so much for taking the time
and shout out to Darren as well. That was an amazing combo.
I love the way you guys are a perfect match. I knew that you would be, but I just it's a lot better than I thought it would be, even with that. And you, Darren, we can find you.
Yeah, as you said earlier, it's the Darren Horn, not out of ego, not out of arrogance. I'm just trying to make all my social media the same. And it was like Darren Horn here, Darren Horn 77. So it's the Darren Horn, virtually anywhere, on my website, darrenhorn.com. But I'm getting to the point where you can kind of just Google me and you'll find who I am.
That's nice. And Horn with an E.
Yes, excellent points. Should stay in that.
Yeah. So thank you so much. I'm so honored that both of you agreed. This is my first time doing a show with more than one person, so I appreciate your patience with technology and everything. And it looks like we've lost him again, but I think this really went well after all. So. And he's back. Okay, so I was thanking you two for being here and your patience with the technology and everything. So it's been a pleasure and an honor. For those of you listening, thank you for listening to the Replenish Me show. And tune in next week when I interview yet another gentleman who will again be speaking on the state of mind in entrepreneurship. And he works specifically with tech entrepreneurs. It will again be a pre-recorded show because he's also in a different time zone. But for this episode and for all previous episodes, you can find me at CordeliaGaffar.com. Thank you so much and have a beautiful evening.